The Exoluxi were a name spoken with both fear and reverence across the galaxies. As the most technologically advanced species known to exist, their capabilities were unrivaled. Their ships, capable of bending space itself, could traverse entire star systems in the blink of an eye, making them virtually untouchable. Their weapons, crafted from the very heart of dying stars, could erase entire fleets from existence with a single pulse. Their minds, a fusion of biological and mechanical perfection, were capable of devising strategies so complex that no being, no matter how advanced, could hope to outwit them. The Exoluxi had dominated countless worlds, bent entire civilizations to their will, and had built an empire that spanned the galaxy. Yet, despite all their power, there was one planet they could not conquer, one world they avoided at all costs: Earth. For millennia, Earth had remained a mystery to the Exoluxi, a strange and insignificant planet situated in a backwater solar system, far from the heart of the galaxy. The humans, as they were called, were primitive, unorganized, and lacked any advanced technology that could threaten the Exoluxi. Yet, for reasons that defied explanation, the Exoluxi never dared to approach Earth. They observed it from afar, monitoring its growth and development, but always from a distance. Despite their advanced technology and insatiable curiosity, they kept away. The planet's presence in their vast network of conquered worlds was always marked with a strange hesitation. Something about Earth made even the most advanced of their machines recoil in fear. In the grand citadel of Viridian, the Exoluxi Council gathered to discuss the anomaly that was Earth. The council chambers, vast and crystalline, were filled with a silence so profound it seemed to hum with tension. At the head of the chamber stood Prime Sovereign Tharn, the leader of the Exoluxi, whose mind had outwitted the greatest minds of countless species. Tharn was a being of almost unimaginable intellect, able to calculate probabilities with near-perfect precision. Yet even he was perplexed by Earth. Why do we fear this planet? Tharn's voice echoed through the chamber, cold and commanding. The question was directed not just at the council, but at the very heart of their existence. The room was filled with Exoluxi elite strategists, scientists, and military commanders, each one of them responsible for the Empire's unimaginable success. But even they couldn't answer Tharn's question. There was no logical explanation. Earth was home to a species that had not yet mastered space travel, a planet whose inhabitants lived in constant conflict with each other. They had barely learned to harness the power of the atom, let alone the stars. Their technology was rudimentary, their cities small and isolated, and their civilizations fractured. To the Exoluxi, Earth should have been easy to conquer, a planet ripe for the picking. Yet, every time their scouts ventured too close, they encountered an overwhelming feeling of dread. "We have sent the finest of our spies," said Commander Varn, one of the Council's most respected officers. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed a hint of unease. Each time, they returned with reports of something we cannot identify. A presence, perhaps. "A presence?" Tharn repeated, raising a brow. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence. The idea of something being capable of even momentarily unnerving the Exoluxi was almost laughable. Their empire was built on the complete understanding and control of the universe's natural laws. There was nothing that could escape their observation, no force that could oppose them. Yet, Earth's people, the humans, had managed to elude their grasp. And worse still, there was something about the planet itself, something beyond the humans, that filled the Exoluxi with a strange, inexplicable fear. "Yes," Varn continued, "our technology, designed to detect the faintest of signals, fails near Earth. Our drones, which can read the surface of planets from light years away, report interference. They describe an unnatural, oppressive feeling, as if the planet itself is alive, as if we are being watched by something far greater than we could ever comprehend." The Council shifted uneasily. The idea of Earth being alive was preposterous, of course. Planets were inanimate objects, mere rock and gas floating in space. Yet the thought of something unseen, something lurking beneath the surface, brought a discomfort that none of them could explain. "Is it possible that this is a trap?" Tharn asked, his voice colder than before. "That someone is deceiving us, manipulating our perceptions? We have considered that possibility, said Dr. Halaya, the Exalaxy's top scientist. But every attempt to probe deeper into the planet's atmosphere, its magnetic fields, its energy signatures, it all comes back inconclusive. We cannot find a trace of any technology or intelligence that could account for this phenomena. Tharn's gaze swept across the room, his mind working through countless possibilities, each one more baffling than the last. The Exalaxy were not used to being stumped. They were masters of the universe, with knowledge and power that no other species could match. And yet, Earth remained an enigma. There is no logical reason for us to fear this planet, Tharn said after a long pause. And yet we do. The reports from our scouts are consistent, and our most advanced technology cannot explain the unease that fills the air around Earth. What is it that we are missing? As the council members exchanged uncertain glances, Tharn made a decision. Prepare a fleet. We will send a team to Earth. We will uncover the truth once and for all. The galaxy will not be ruled by fear. But deep down, even Tharn could not shake the gnawing feeling that the Exalaxy had no idea what they were about to face. They had never encountered anything like Earth. And perhaps, just perhaps, they were about to learn that some mysteries were better left unsolved. The Exalaxy, determined to finally unveil the secrets of Earth, took a daring step that would forever change their perception of the universe. Prime Sovereign Tharn, alongside a small group of their most elite warriors and scientists, decided to visit Earth in person. They would land in secret, avoiding any large-scale confrontation, and observe the planet's inhabitants from the shadows. The galaxy's most advanced species, armed with centuries of knowledge and unmatched technology, were about to enter a world that, despite its simplicity, had eluded them for millennia. The Exalaxy's arrival was marked by stealth as they concealed their ships deep in the atmosphere, cloaking themselves from human radar and detection systems. As their boots touched the soil of Earth for the first time, there was no grand welcome or overwhelming resistance, no fleets of defense systems or advanced military strikes, which was exactly what they had expected. What they saw instead were humans, ordinary men, women, and children, simply going about their day, unknowing of the alien visitors walking amongst them. The planet appeared unremarkable, just as their scouts had reported, old, worn, and full of bustling life. Yet there was something unsettling about it all. The air felt dense, as though it carried an energy the Exalaxy could not comprehend. Asa, the small group ventured further into the heart of a human city. It quickly became clear that Earth, despite its primitive appearance, was anything but simple. The humans, who the Exalaxy had long believed to be dull, unaware creatures, displayed a curious level of awareness. At first, it was small things, the way people instinctively moved through crowded streets without colliding, the way their eyes darted from side to side, scanning their surroundings constantly. To the Exalaxy, it was more than just human instinct. It was an odd, sharp awareness that felt calculated, even if the humans themselves did not realize it. The Exalaxy, usually unshakable in their confidence, felt an unfamiliar sense of discomfort creeping in. As they blended into the crowds, they began to notice an unsettling pattern. The humans, though they lacked the sophistication and intelligence of the Exalaxy, seemed to sense their presence in a way the Exalaxy could not understand. The moment one of them locked eyes with a human, the Exalaxy felt a strange jolt, as though their very essence was being studied, analyzed, and assessed. The feeling was intense, almost suffocating, as if something deeper was happening just beneath the surface. It started as a low hum, a vibration that only the most perceptive of the Exalaxy could detect. The streets were filled with human life, but to the visitors, every glance, every movement felt charged with an energy they had never encountered before. No one acted out of place. No one spoke in a language the Exalaxy didn't understand. Yet, each time a human looked in their direction, the air seemed to thicken. The Exalaxy had always been masters of perception. Nothing escaped their advanced senses, but here, in this strange world, they found themselves unable to predict or control anything. Then came the first real shock. As one of the Exalaxy, a scientist named Xantor attempted to use a small, handheld device to scan the surrounding environment. The device flickered, malfunctioned, and shut down entirely. This was no ordinary device. This was a piece of exaloxy technology that could analyze and manipulate energy fields, detect invisible signals, and even pierce through solid objects. And yet, on Earth, it faltered. Xantor cursed under his breath, attempting to restart the device, but it was useless. They were no longer in control. For the first time, the exaloxy felt vulnerable in a way they couldn't explain. Their technology, which had been capable of piercing through the very fabric of space itself, was failing them here, in a place they believed to be primitive. A growing sense of unease spread through the group. They tried to shake off the feeling, but every corner they turned, every face they saw, seemed to hold a deeper mystery. The exaloxy were being watched, though they couldn't see by whom. The humans, unaware of the danger they were in, continued with their routines. But the exaloxy began to feel the oppressive weight of something watching them, something that knew they were there. It was as if the planet itself had eyes. The longer they remained on Earth, the more the oppressive feeling grew. They could sense that their every move was being observed, as if the very land beneath their feet was conscious, aware of their presence. The tension in the group reached a breaking point when they encountered a human who was not as oblivious as the others. As Tharn passed by a small alley, a man standing there locked eyes with him. His gaze was intense, almost knowing. For a brief moment, Tharn felt a powerful jolt of something he couldn't identify, a surge of energy, as though this human were not merely a primitive being, but a vessel of something ancient, something that transcended time and space. He recoiled, startled by the intensity of the encounter. The man, without saying a word, simply smiled an eerie, knowing smile and then disappeared into the crowd. It was in that moment that Tharn understood. The humans, despite their lack of advanced technology, were not the ones to be feared. It was Earth itself, the planet that had the power to resist the exaloxy. The exaloxy had underestimated this world. They had seen the humans as weak, insignificant creatures, incapable of standing against their might. But now they were learning the truth. Earth was not a planet to be conquered by force. It was something far older, far more powerful than they had ever imagined. The group retreated back to their ship. Their minds were spinning. They had come to Earth to learn its secrets, to uncover the reason for the galaxy's oldest mystery. But they had returned with more questions than answers. Why was their technology failing? Why did they feel watched? And most importantly, what was it about Earth that made even the most advanced species in the galaxy feel so small? The exaloxy left Earth in silence, their minds still processing the events of the day. They had learned nothing of the planet's true power. But one thing was clear: they were no longer the supreme beings in the universe. Earth, with all its mystery, had shaken them to their core, and the galaxy would soon learn that some forces could never be understood, let alone controlled. Back aboard their ship, the exaloxy were in a state of deep contemplation. The initial mission to Earth, meant to be a quiet observation of a primitive planet, had turned into a puzzle that not even their vast intellects could solve. Prime Sovereign Tharn paced the length of the ship's command room, his mind racing with the events that had unfolded. Every time the exaloxy thought they had Earth figured out, the planet revealed something new, something that left them with more questions than answers. The technology that had never failed them now seemed unreliable in Earth's presence. Their sophisticated scanning systems faltered, and their understanding of the universe felt, for the first time in millennia, incomplete. But what had truly stunned them wasn't just the planet's strange influence over their advanced technology, it was the humans themselves. The exaloxy, in their quest to understand Earth, began to delve deeper into the history of humanity. They examined centuries of human development, their rise from stone tools to complex machines. They studied their wars, their achievements, their moments of triumph and defeat. What they discovered left them shaken. Despite their relatively short time in the cosmos, humans had survived and thrived in conditions that would have crushed any other species. They had endured the harshest of environments, wild, unpredictable, and often deadly. Yet, time and time again, humanity had overcome every obstacle. They had faced devastating wars, plagues, and disasters, yet always managed to come back stronger, more unified. It wasn't just their physical endurance that caught the exaloxy's attention. It was their mental and emotional resilience. Humanity's ability to adapt, to innovate when cornered, was something the Exaloxi had never encountered in other species. Humans didn't just survive in difficult circumstances, they found a way to improve and grow stronger through adversity. Every setback was met with new inventions, new ideas, and new ways of thinking. When faced with defeat, humanity refused to stay down for long. They would find another path, another solution, even if it meant going against all odds. The Exaloxi realized that Earth's true power wasn't in its technology or weapons. It was in the human's ability to turn every weakness into a strength. Prime Sovereign Tharn sat in his chair, his hands clasped together as he thought deeply about what this meant. The Exaloxi were a species of perfect calculation and control. Every action, every movement, was predicted and planned for, often years in advance. They had the technology to see through time itself, to foresee countless outcomes and ensure their dominance across the galaxy. Yet, humanity seemed to defy all of that. The Exaloxi were used to manipulating every situation to their advantage, but humanity's greatest strength lay in its unpredictability. They couldn't be predicted. No matter how much the Exaloxi studied their history, no matter how many times they analyzed human behavior, there was always an unexpected twist, an unforeseen action, a surprise that altered everything. It was as if humans were playing a game where the rules were constantly changing. Tharn's mind began to race with this new realization. The unpredictability of humanity was terrifying. The Exaloxi had built an empire on control, on the ability to predict and dominate everything around them. But with humans, that was impossible. Every time they thought they understood Earth, the humans proved them wrong. They had seen it in the past, when a small, fractured group of humans united against a common enemy and overthrew a far superior force. They had witnessed it when humans, faced with extinction, developed technology that defied logic and saved their world. Humanity's ability to evolve, adapt, and fight back in unexpected ways was a power beyond anything the Exaloxi had ever known. The Exaloxi's greatest weapon, their superior intelligence and technological advancements, suddenly seemed like a double-edged sword. They had assumed that their power would be enough to crush humanity, to bend Earth to their will. But the more they studied, the more they realized that humanity was not like any species they had encountered before. The more they pushed, the more humanity pushed back. They had learned to use their greatest weakness, their lack of advanced technology, against their enemies. They had turned their primitive nature into an advantage, making them harder to predict and harder to control. Tharn now fully understood what the rest of the galaxy did not. Humanity's greatest power wasn't in their weapons, their armies, or their machines. It wasn't even in their individual minds, though those were capable of remarkable feats. No, humanity's greatest strength lay in their sheer willpower, their refusal to be controlled. It was their unyielding determination to survive, to fight, and to outthink even the most powerful adversaries. The Exaloxi, for all their knowledge, had underestimated the resilience of a species that refused to be broken. The more Tharn considered this, the more unsettled he became. His entire empire, built on centuries of dominance, was now threatened by a species that had barely begun to understand the full scope of their own power. The Exaloxi had always believed that there were certain rules that governed the universe, rules that could be understood, controlled, and manipulated. But humans seemed to break those rules at every turn. Every attempt the Exaloxi made to understand them only led to more confusion. They were not a species that could be bent to the will of others. And that, Tharn realized, was the most dangerous thing of all. As the days passed, the unease within the Exaloxi grew. They had come to Earth expecting to find an easy conquest, a primitive world to add to their empire. But what they found instead was a force of nature, something wild, untamed, and full of potential. Humanity wasn't a species to be feared for their advanced weaponry or their great civilizations. No, they were to be feared for something far more dangerous, their capacity for reinvention, for survival, and for the unexpected. And as the Exaloxi retreated back into the depths of their ship, one thing was clear to Tharn: Earth and humanity were not to be underestimated. The galaxy's most powerful species had encountered something that could not be controlled, a species that would forever change the course of their future. As the Exaloxi prepared for their invasion of Earth, Their once confident plans began to unravel in ways they had never anticipated. The galaxy's most advanced species, masters of strategy and control, found themselves caught off guard by the sheer unpredictability of humanity. While the Exaloxi were busy making final preparations for a swift and decisive conquest, a quiet but undeniable shift was taking place on Earth. The humans, despite their apparent vulnerability, had started to notice the signs of the Exaloxi's interest in their planet. What had begun as hushed whispers in back alleys and secretive gatherings quickly grew into something far more dangerous. A full-scale rebellion. At first, the Exaloxi dismissed the scattered reports of human resistance as the actions of isolated groups, just another of Earth's fleeting uprisings. They couldn't have been more wrong. Humans, when faced with a threat, didn't wait for grandiose plans or the luxury of advanced technology to fight back. They didn't need years of preparation or heavy artillery to resist what they had. Instead was raw instinct, the ability to think on their feet, and a deep, unshakable belief in their own survival. The human spirit, it turned out, was more powerful than anything the Exaloxi had ever encountered. The resistance began to take shape in the shadows. Ordinary citizens, from scientists to factory workers to farmers and soldiers, all began to piece together the reality of what was happening. They realized that their world, their lives, were being threatened by a force far more dangerous than any war or natural disaster they had known. But instead of cowering in fear, they began to organize small cells at first, forming underground networks, sharing information, and setting up systems to sabotage Exaloxi operations. It was chaos, but it was their chaos, and the Exaloxi underestimated it completely. As the weeks passed, these scattered human efforts turned into a well-oiled machine. The humans employed guerrilla tactics, utilizing the very unpredictability that had once been their greatest weakness as their greatest weapon. They used their knowledge of the terrain, their cities, their own technology, and even their primitive weaponry to strike at the Exaloxi where it hurt. Sabotage became their hallmark. Communications were jammed, Exaloxi weapons were hacked, and their ships were stolen or destroyed. The Exaloxi had no idea how to deal with an enemy that could turn every setback into a victory. Among these rebels, one leader emerged who would become the face of the resistance, Captain Sarah Henson. A former military strategist and a fierce patriot, Henson had an innate understanding of what made humanity so dangerous. She knew that the Exaloxi could not be defeated with brute force alone. They had to be outwitted, outmaneuvered. With her sharp mind, her courage, and her uncanny ability to inspire those around her, she quickly rose to prominence, uniting the fractured human factions into a formidable force. Henson's leadership style was simple but effective: strike fast, strike hard, and always leave the Exaloxi wondering where the next blow would come from. What began as small, almost insignificant victories soon snowballed into something much larger. The Exaloxi, accustomed to being the hunters, now found themselves on the defensive. Their advanced ships were taken down by unexpected ambushes. Their communications were intercepted, and crucial information was stolen right from under their noses. The humans had learned to exploit every weakness in the Exaloxi's technology and military strategies. And the Exaloxi, who had long prided themselves on their ability to control every situation, could no longer keep up. Their advanced weapon systems, which had once been invincible, were now being used against them in ways they hadn't foreseen. In one particularly daring raid, a group of human rebels infiltrated Exaloxi Command Center, a heavily fortified base that had been thought to be impenetrable. The attack was swift, brutal, and, to the Exaloxi's horror, successful. Captain Henson, with her tactical brilliance, had planned the assault down to the last detail. The Exaloxi Command Center fell, and with it, crucial intelligence about the upcoming invasion was lost. The Exaloxi were now reeling, struggling to regroup and re-establish control over the planet. They were not the untouchable conquerors they had once believed themselves to be. The momentum of the rebellion continued to build. The Exaloxi, who had once ruled the stars with an iron grip, were now the hunted. It wasn't just the humans they had to worry about now. The rebellion had ignited something even more powerful: unity. Earth's once divided nations had come together, setting aside their differences to fight for their survival. Humanity's strength, Once thought to be its greatest weakness, its tendency to fight among themselves had now become their greatest advantage. United under the banner of resistance, humans across the planet were proving that they were more than a match for the most advanced species in the galaxy. The Exaloxi, now struggling to maintain control over Earth, realized something they had never considered. They were facing an enemy that could not be contained by simple military might. Every time they thought they had suppressed the rebellion, the humans would find a way to fight back stronger, faster, and more determined than ever. They had underestimated Earth's greatest resource, the human spirit. The resilience, the innovation, and the unwillingness to surrender, no matter how dire the odds. I in the heart of the rebellion, as the humans prepared for their next strike against the Exaloxi, a new sense of hope began to take root. Earth was no longer a planet to be conquered. It was a planet of warriors, of people who had faced impossible odds and had never once given up. And in the face of an empire that had dominated galaxies, humanity had begun to show that their greatest weapon was not their technology, nor their numbers, but their relentless drive to survive. The Exaloxi, once the undisputed rulers of the galaxy, were learning a hard lesson. The human race was not to be underestimated. And as the first shots of the rebellion rang out, it was clear that Earth's resistance had only just begun. The Exaloxi had once believed themselves to be invincible. For centuries, they had crushed empires, obliterated civilizations, and turned entire star systems to dust with the might of their advanced technology. But as they prepared for the final assault on Earth, something had changed. Earth, the planet they had dismissed for millennia as primitive and weak, had proven to be far more than they could have ever imagined. It was not just a planet to conquer. It was a living, breathing force, an unstoppable tide of survival, driven by an unwavering determination to protect its own. Now, with the fate of Earth hanging in the balance, the Exaloxi were about to face an enemy they could not predict, an enemy they could not defeat. Captain Sarah Henson, the brilliant and fearless leader of Earth's resistance, stood at the helm of the final assault. The rebellion had grown into an unstoppable force, a united front of every nation on Earth, fighting together as one. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its will to survive, its refusal to back down in the face of overwhelming odds. And now, as the final battle loomed, the humans knew what they were fighting for: their home, their families, and their very existence. Captain Henson had led them through countless victories, but this would be the ultimate test. The Exaloxi's mothership, a colossal ship that could easily lay waste to entire fleets, hovered above Earth's atmosphere, ready to unleash its devastating power. The Exaloxi believed they had the upper hand. Their technology was far beyond anything humanity had ever seen, and their forces were vast. They had come to Earth with the intent to obliterate it, to bring an end to this rebellion that had embarrassed them at every turn. They had underestimated the resilience of humanity for far too long. But now, as they stared down at the planet below, they realized their mistake. Earth was not just a planet, it was a force of nature, a planet that would not submit, no matter the cost. The humans had prepared for this day with a desperation and determination that the Exaloxi could not have predicted. They had taken the lessons they had learned from the previous battle's guerrilla tactics, sabotage, and resourcefulness and applied them to their final stand. The humans did not have the advanced technology or the sheer firepower of the Exaloxi, but what they had was something far more powerful: a deep belief in their own survival, an unshakable unity, and the ability to improvise and adapt to any situation. As Captain Henson and her team led their assault on the Exaloxi mothership, the fight seemed impossible. The Exaloxi's ships were nearly indestructible, and their weaponry could level entire cities with a single shot. Yet, despite all of this, the humans pressed on. They used the terrain, the knowledge of their world, to their advantage. Henson's plan was audacious. She and her team infiltrated the mothership, using every skill they had learned during their fight against the Exaloxi to turn their enemy's technology against them. The humans hacked into the mothership's systems, sabotaging key points of its power and weaponry. They used their guerrilla tactics to strike at vulnerable points, hitting the Exaloxi where it hurt the most. As the battle raged on, the Exaloxi found themselves increasingly unable to predict the human tactics. For every countermeasure they put in place, the humans had already adapted. For every advantage the Exaloxy gained, the humans found a way to turn it into a disadvantage. The more the Exaloxy tried to use their superior technology to crush the humans, the more the humans found ways to outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast them. It was as if the very spirit of Earth had risen to meet the Exaloxy in battle, an energy the Exaloxy could not comprehend, let alone defeat. The final moments of the battle were a blur of chaos and determination. Captain Henson, leading the charge, knew that the fate of Earth rested on her shoulders. As she and her team reached the heart of the Exaloxy mothership, they faced their most difficult challenge yet: the central power core, the source of the mothership's near unstoppable power. But in this moment of dire need, the humans did what they did best. They improvised. With quick thinking and relentless courage, they planted explosives at the core and set them to detonate. The Exaloxy, realizing too late what was happening, attempted to stop them. The power core exploded in a brilliant, fiery eruption that sent shockwaves through the mothership. The Exaloxy had no time to react. Their once mighty vessel, the symbol of their power and superiority, was now crumbling under the weight of the human rebellion. As the Exaloxy tried to retreat, the humans pressed forward, refusing to let them escape. The final strike came from every corner of the globe, from every human who had ever fought for their survival. In the end, the Exaloxy, with all their advanced technology, fell to a species they had once deemed insignificant. The mothership exploded, and with it, the heart of the Exaloxy's power was extinguished forever. The galaxy would never forget the day the Exaloxy were driven back by the people of Earth. It was a day when the mightiest species in the universe was humbled by a race of humans who had refused to give up, no matter the odds. The story of Earth's victory spread across the cosmos, a story of resilience, of ingenuity, and of the power of the human spirit. The Exaloxy were no more, their empire shattered, and their legacy tarnished forever. Earth had stood firm, and in doing so, had earned its place as one of the galaxy's most formidable forces. As the dust settled and the survivors looked toward the future, humanity realized that they had not just won a battle, they had changed the course of history. Earth was no longer a backwater planet. It was now a beacon of hope, a symbol of what could be accomplished when a species refused to give up. The rest of the galaxy had learned the most important lesson of all: never underestimate humanity. For as long as humans drew breath, they would continue to fight, to adapt, and to survive no matter what the universe threw at them.